This time, today, we're going to look at co-pilots. The co-pilots are often integrated into other applications and provide a way for users to get help with common tasks from a generative AI model. Yeah, like now you have co-pilots in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Yeah. So it's integrated into other applications. To provide a way for users to get help with common tasks from a generative AI model. So developers can build co-pilots that submit prompts to large language models and generate content for use in applications. And can somebody tell me, can you unmute and tell me what you understand by co-pilot? Who has used co-pilots and what do you know by, what do you understand by co-pilots? Who wants to meet and yeah, go on.
Okay. We understand by co-pilots, like as presented by Microsoft. Copilot is like one of Microsoft's ways of integrating artificial intelligence into their whole package of products or of software products. Yeah, so you have different applications. Like the name implies, Copilot is like assistant, but for Microsoft. So it's supposed to be your AI powered assistant. Is an electric assistant in your applications that is powered by a generative AI model. So you can ask it questions, ask for tasks to be done, and it can help you from generating images to text, statements, presentations, whatever the need may be. So,
okay, that's very good. Yeah. Okay, and remember, co-pilot, it's called co-pilots. You are still the pilots. Yeah, you're the pilots. It's just an assistant, like you said. Yeah. It helps you, with common tasks. Like it helps you to summarize documents. Yeah. If you have it in Word, create images, and you also have Copilot in Edge. Has anybody used it? It's just like your Chat GPT. Yeah, so that Copilot in Edge is like a Microsoft like Chat GPT. Yeah. Has anybody used that before? Yeah. So once you put your prompts there, it generates whatever you have. So business users can use co-pilots to boost their productivity and creativity with AI-generated content. Okay, so you have that. Mm-hmm. Let me check here. So co-pilots are based on a common architecture. So developers can build common co-pilots for various business-specific applications and services. You may see co-pilots appear within the products that you already use. Like I mentioned, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you have co-pilots built in this there. For example, as a chat screen feature that opens up next to your file. These co-pilots use the content that is created or searched for in the product as specific information for its results. Yeah. So Microsoft 365 Copilot works alongside productivity and communication apps, such as PowerPoint, like I mentioned. Now, assisting you in creating effective documents, spreadsheets, presentations, emails, and other ways. And so you have Copilot built in these different applications. Okay, let's look at what. So what are copilots? Other examples of copilots. I did mention that you have Microsoft Edge browser copilots. Yeah. If you go to your Edge, yeah, you see by the side. You see by the copilots by the side Edge. Yeah. And you can put in your prompts. Put in your prompts. And I'm sure you all used it. Have we all used that? The copilots in Edge, Microsoft Edge. Have we all used
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Okay, so you're familiar with that. Okay, so you also have Microsoft Bing Copilot. Yeah, in Bing, you also have a Copilot there. Yeah, and you have GitHub Copilots and many more. Like I mentioned, in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you have Copilots. Okay. So let's look at the co-pilots here. So what are co-pilots? Microsoft has already added co-pilots to commonly used applications, I mentioned earlier. So in the Microsoft Edge browser, the co-pilot enables you to summarize the page you're currently browsing or to generate new content. Like if you put a prompt in the Microsoft Edge browser co-pilot, it generates content for you. Just like your ChatGPT, yeah. And you also have the Microsoft Bing search engine. This provides a co-pilot to help when browsing or searching the internet by generating natural language answers to questions based on context rather than just search results on index pages. Yeah, I'm sure you would have used the Microsoft Bing to search for things. And you also have the GitHub Copilot. This provides support to software developers, helping them write documents and what have you, documents and text tools. Okay. So improve generative AI responses with prompt engineering. Okay, let's look at here you have, let's look at this first. Improve generative AI responses with prompt engineering. So the term prompt engineering describes the process of prompt improvement. Yeah, we all know what prompt is. What you type on your ChatGPT or Copilot. Yeah, the queries you type there are your prompts. So the term prompt engineering describes the process of prompt improvement because you can always improve the prompts you write. The better prompts you write, the better response you get. Yeah, both developers who design applications and consumers who use applications can improve the quality of responses from generative AI by using direct language, system messages, examples, or grounding data. So here you have your direct language. You can get the most useful completion by being explicit about the kind of response you want. You know? So example is create a list of 10 things to do in Edinburgh during August. Direct language. Then you have the system messages. This describes how the chat should act. Example is you're a helpful assistant that responds in a cheerful, friendly manner. Okay. Providing examples. Here you have LLMs generally support zero-shot learning, in which responses can be generated without prior exampling. However, you can also provide a few example responses known as few-shot learning. And an example of this is visit the castle in the morning before the crowds arrive. Providing examples. Grounding data, you can include grounding data to provide context. Example is including email text with a prompt. Summarize my email. So you can just prompt it. When you have a long email, you could write a prompt to summarize your email, and it summarizes it for you. Okay. So
We have a question.
okay, go on. What's your question?
So from what I'm seeing here, you're saying that it's the quality of prompts that are given to the AI that also it also affects the quality of the answers that the AI gives. So prompt engineering is both for engineers and for users of the AI. But like how do I put it? So it does not have to be specific questions. I'm asking if the model is just what do you call it, designed to give answers to every prompt. But from what I'm seeing here now, the quality of the answer will be determined by the quality of the prompt. So is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because prompt engineering is, you learn how to prompt, to write your prompt. The better prompt you write, the better the responses. Yeah. So you need to even learn how to prompt correctly. Yeah.
That's smart. So it's more of a training for the people rather than the model.
Yes. Say that again.
Is it more of a training for the people working with the model than it is for the model itself, this issue of prompt engineering?
It's training for people working with the model or for people. I don't get
Yes,
your question.
like the issue of prompt engineering, for instance, now when we talk about other things like what is it, machine learning, training the model with data.
Yeah.
But now we are talking about prompt engineering, where it's the people that are generating or that are giving the prompts. So it's not that we are teaching the AI module about prompts. We are the ones that are learning about creating
Oh, yes.
better prompts.
Yes. Even if you like okay, training the model, yeah, you should know about prompt engineering. Yes, to be able to prompt it properly. Yeah. Um, as as um as an engineer, as an AI engineer, you need to you need to also learn prompt engineering. Yeah. You need to also learn prompt engineering to be able to prompt, to get the right responses. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Let's look at so improve generative AI responses with prompt engineering. Yeah, mentioned earlier. So the quality of responses, like I mentioned, that a generative AI application returns not only depends on the model itself, yeah, but on the types of prompts it's given. Yeah, that's what I just explained. Yeah, so you need to also learn the right way to prompt the model. Yeah. So prompts are ways we tell an application what we want it to do. So an engineer can add instructions for the program with prompts. For example, developers may build a generative AI application for teachers to create multiple choice questions related to tech students. Yeah. So during the development of the application, developers can add other rules for what the program should do. Yeah. So you need to learn how to prompt properly. So writing good prompts, you can achieve better results when you submit clear, specific prompts. Yeah. If you write some prompts, it will give you, you will start hallucinating. Yeah, what it doesn't understand. You have system messages. Yeah, and the message sets the context for the model by describing expectations and constraints. For example, you're a helpful assistant that responds in a cheerful, friendly manner. These system messages determine constraints and style for the model responses. Yeah, so we need to learn how to write good prompts. Yeah, your prompts need to be clear, specific, so that you will get the right response. So providing examples. Yeah, so however, you can also provide one-shot learning prompts that include one or a few examples of the output you require, such as visit the castle in the morning before the crowds arrive. The model can then generate further responses in the same style as the example provided in the prompt. Show the chat what responses you want to try to mimic any responses you add. So you have to first train the model, then even as an engineer, you need to learn prompt engineering to improve on the prompts you write. So grounding data. You can use grounding data as a prompt engineering technique to gain many of the benefits of fine-tuning without having to train a custom model. Yeah, you can always also, your prompts, you can also fine-tune it. And you get, as you fine-tune it, you get better responses. To apply this technique, include contextual data in the prompts so that the model can use it to generate an appropriate output. For example, suppose you want to use an LLM to generate a summary of an email. What's LLM again? Who remembers what LLM stands for? You can unmute and tell us. Can anyone hear me?
Large language model.
Correct, large language. How come I'm hearing just one person's voice? Is that Emmanuel? Is that you? Huh? Is
Yes,
it only
ma'am.
Emmanuel? Is it only Emmanuel in the class? I want others to also respond. Yeah. You can include the email text in the prompt with an instruction to summarize it. Yeah. Yeah. Like I mentioned, if you have a long email, you have a large document, you could ask a Copilot to summarize it. Okay. Let's go back to other slide. Okay. Okay. This is one of the exercises here. To explore generative AI with Bing Chat Copilots. So in this exercise, we will use Bing Chat Copilot to explore generative AI. So okay, now let's look at fundamentals of Azure OpenAI Service. Fundamentals of Azure OpenAI Service. What is Azure OpenAI? Azure OpenAI Service is Microsoft's cloud solution for deploying, customizing, and hosting large language models. LLM. I just asked you, yeah? Azure OpenAI. So Azure OpenAI Service consists of pre-trained generative AI models, customization capabilities, and you have built-in tools to detect and mitigate harmful use cases so users can implement AI responsibly. Also have enterprise-grade security with role-based access control, that's RBAC, private networks. You can use several methods to develop Azure OpenAI solution. Azure AI Studio, REST API, supported SDKs, and Azure CNI. Okay, I'm going to I go to the other slides. Okay, here I did mention that Azure AI Service is Microsoft's cloud solution for deploying, customizing, and hosting large language models. Azure OpenAI Service brings together the best of OpenAI's cutting-edge model and APIs with the security and scalability of the Azure cloud platform. So Microsoft partnership with OpenAI enables Azure OpenAI users to access the latest language model innovation. We all know Azure, when we did discuss cloud computing before, Azure, and please take note that it's pronounced Azure. Some people pronounce it Azure, which is wrong. The R is silent. So it's pronounced Azure. Azure OpenAI. Okay, so you have the AI Studio. And okay, you've used the AI Studio for one of the projects, have you? Yeah. I need feedbacks. You've used the AI Studio for one of for the projects you're working on. Who has used the AI Studio? Azure AI Studio. Can anyone hear me? What's going on? How come everybody is so quiet? Are we still here? Hello? Hello, can you still hear me? Okay, Christiana, you have your hands up. Christiana, you have a question? Christiana, are you there? You have your hands up. Can you all hear me? Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you, ma'am. People that have their mic muted. I don't know what the matter is.
Yes, you can unmute your mic and speak. Yeah? Christiana, okay, you have your hands down now. Okay. Okay, Daniela says we can hear you, ma'am. Christina, you have your hands up. Do you have any questions? You still have just 13 people in class. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was asking if you all must have used the AI Studio to do your assignments. Yeah? Nobody is answering me. No, so you haven't used it.
Yes.
You have. Okay. Azure AI Studio.
We've
Developers
used it,
can
ma'am. We use it for
exactly.
project two. Project two
Yeah.
and three.
Exactly. I just wanted feedback. Yeah. So developers can work with these models in Azure AI Studio, a web-based environment where AI professionals can deploy text and manage LLMs that support generative AI app development on Azure. So that's what you do with your AI Studio. So within Azure AI Studio, you can deploy large language models, provide few short examples, and test them in Azure OpenAI Studios chat playground. So okay, you've used the AI Studio, so you know how it works. What models does Azure OpenAI support? Azure OpenAI supports many LLMs. GPT-4, sorry, GPT-4. Yeah, this is a set of models that improve on, we used to have like 3.5, then GPT-4, GPT 3.5 and 4. So a set of models that improve on GPT 3.5 and can understand as well as generate natural language and code. And so 3.5, GPT 3.5 is a set of models that improve on GPT-3 that GPT-3, then 3.5, and 4, and can understand as well as generate natural language and code also. Then you have the embeddings. It's a set of models that can convert text into numerical vector form to facilitate text similarity embeddings. Yeah. We did tokenizations and embeddings. You saw examples there. Then we also have DALL-E. Yeah. It's a series of models in preview that can generate original images from natural language. DALL-E. And so these are models Azure OpenAI supports. These are so these are the LLMs, large language models. Azure OpenAI supports. Yeah. Let me throw more light to that. Okay. So did mention that Azure OpenAI brings together the best of OpenAI's cutting-edge models and APIs with the security and scalability of Azure cloud platform. You know, we discussed all that before, talked about the scalability of Azure cloud platform, the security. Yeah. So Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI enables Azure OpenAI users to access latest language model innovations. We talked about the GPT-4 models, which are the latest generation of generative pre-trained models. Remember that GPT stands for generation of generative pre-trained models, generative GPT, generative pre-trained models. Yeah, that can generate natural language and code completions based on natural language prompts. Yeah. So access to GPT-4 models is currently restricted for access, like existing Azure OpenAI customers can apply by filling out a form. Yeah. You also have the GPT-3 3.5 before the GPT-4, which these are models. Models can generate natural language and code completion based on natural language prompts. In particular, GPT 3.5 turbo models are optimized for chat-based interactions and work well in most generative AI scenarios. Okay, and the embeddings models convert text into numeric vectors, like I mentioned before, and are useful in language analytics scenarios, such as comparing text sources of similarities as embeddings. Then you have your DALL-E. DALL-E models are used to generate images. When you hear DALL-E, that's mostly for images, based on natural language prompts. Currently, DALL-E models are in preview. DALL-E models aren't listed on the Azure OpenAI Studio interface and don't need to be explicitly deployed. The DALL-E models are used to generate images. Okay, let's look at how to use Azure OpenAI. I'm going back to how to use how to use Azure OpenAI. Okay, Azure OpenAI Studio. Here we build and deploy AI models for software applications powered by generative AI models. Yeah, remember if you go to your Azure environment, you see the Azure AI Studio. And here you have you can see Dolly here, emissions charts. That management have deployments, models, data files, tools, and content filters. And this is powered by generative AI models optimized for various tasks. I did mention that Azure OpenAI models include GPT-4, GPT 3.5, embeddings, and E models. Okay. And playgrounds. Yeah. Yeah, you experiment with Azure OpenAI models without coding. You have a playground here. I use the assistant setup to instruct the model about how it should behave. Yeah. Okay, you would also have a project on this, so at least you work on this and see how you use it. The good thing about this project is you have the instructions already, so you need to follow the instructions and to use them. Okay, there you have the chat playground, you have the completions playground, and you have the DOE playground. I did mention this is used to generate unique images by writing descriptions in natural language. That's your DOE. Chat playground, you use it to design and customize AI assistant using ChatGPT. Experiment with GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT 4 model. And the completions playground is it to experiment with completions models for use cases such as summarization, content generation, and classification. Yeah. So that's hello, are we still here? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Hey. I hope I'm not too fast. Am I too fast? Hello? Am I too fast? Nobody's answering.
No.
Okay. So let me break this down some more. How to use Azure OpenAI. Currently, you need to apply for access to Azure OpenAI. Once granted access, you can use the service by creating an Azure OpenAI resource, like you would for other Azure services. So once the resource is created, you can use the service through REST APIs, Python SDK, or the web-based interface, the Azure OpenAI Studio. So understanding how to utilize Azure OpenAI is key. Azure OpenAI Studio is your space to construct and deploy AI models for software application. You've used it in one of your practicals, so you've seen how it works. It leverages specific generative AI models tailored for various tasks. Notably, models include GPT-4, GPT 3.5, embeddings models, and the E model. You also have the playgrounds. Playgrounds offer a code-free environment for experimentation. And in the chat playground, you can define how the model behaves using the assistant center. Yeah. Okay. And let's look at the Azure OpenAI natural language capabilities. Natural language capabilities. So Azure OpenAI's natural language capabilities, generative retrained transformer, as GPT. Models are excellent at both on understanding and creating natural language. Yeah? Remember what we said about natural language. Natural language is like your English that you speak. So for example, given a prompt where the user types in text asking for a cooking recipe, like you have this example, write a recipe instruction for a fruit pie based on these ingredients: strawberries, blueberries, plum, eggs, and milk. It's giving you the ingredients. Yeah. And here's an example of the Azure OpenAI generated response. So if you do a prompt like this, yeah, if you go to your prompts and type in this, you've given it a prompt to write recipe instructions for a fruit pie based on these ingredients. It will come up with this. Yeah, the recipe, which is, it says preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you want to do a fruit pie, for example, I don't know how to do this, you just go and type this. This is your prompt. Yeah. Tells you that in a medium bowl, mix together 1 cup of flour and 1 egg until it forms a dough. Grease, it will tell you the steps, the instructions, what to do. Yeah, just like you have it here. So that's an example of the Azure OpenAI generated response. So it gives you the recipe. Yeah, because once you tell it, please write me the recipe, and you have the ingredients you want to use. And give his instruction. Okay. Let me go back to this. The Azure OpenAI natural language capabilities have Azure OpenAI's models process natural language and generate responses, like we saw in the example there. So applications to new use cases. ChatGPT is an example. Yeah. This combines front-end UI and back-end generative AI model, available as a building block in OpenAI and Azure OpenAI APIs. And developers customize for specific use cases. So you have these are the capabilities of the OpenAI natural language. Okay, let me go back to. Are we following though? Are we following? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So your prompts, once you give a prompt, yeah, it will generate we, like prompt engineering is big. It's a big course on its own because you need to also learn how to write the correct prompts, yeah, to be able to get a correct response to what you want. Okay. Okay, Azure OpenAI, let's look at the Azure OpenAI's code generation capabilities. Okay. It doesn't mean, if you can write Python, fine, but this helps out also. Yeah. Okay, or if you can write if you can code, that's good, but um, this helps in code generation too. So GPT model translate natural language or code snippets into code. Code generation goes beyond just writing code from natural language prompts. Given the following code, it can generate unit tests as shown on the right. Okay, so does anybody write Python here? Can anybody write Python? Yeah, this class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please put up your hands if you can write Python. Okay, only one person. Christiana. Okay. Okay, somebody puts. Okay, that's all right. So, okay, that's fine. But it doesn't matter if you can't write Python. So, it's something. Okay, here, the code, yeah, in multiplying A by B. Yeah, you're defining those numbers as B, the unit text there. It's just explaining to you that you can generate it. Yeah, you can generate these codes. So this returns this times B, then okay, that's A. 3 times 4 is 12 here. 0 times, can you see that? It's multiplying here, you're just multiplying the two figures. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 times 10 is 0. Yeah. Yeah. So because it says you should multiply A and B. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. Multiply this by this one. Multiply negative numbers. Gives you that. Okay. So you can generate this in can also generate this. Okay, and Azure OpenAI's image generation capabilities. Okay, before we go there, let me see. Discuss this. Okay, this is the Git code generation. Okay. Okay, let's look at this first and come back to this. Okay, I think I have to take into this. That's okay. This slide. Yeah. So Azure OpenAI image generation capabilities. Yeah. Generative AI models can edit and create images. So the model that works with images is called an E, like I mentioned earlier, which supports image creation, image editing, and image variations creation. So you have the image generation. With DALL-E, you can even request an image in a particular style. Styles can be used for edits and variations as well. Editing an image. So you could use it to generate image, edit an image. DALL-E can edit the image as requested by changing its style, adding or removing items, or generating new content to add. Yeah. We also have the image variation. Image variations can be created by providing an image and specifying how many variations of the image you would like. Okay. Like if you look at the prompt here, it says create 4 variations of an image of an elephant with a hamburger. This is one variation, the hamburger on top there. Yeah, another variation here. Another variation. This is another variation. So you could get DALL-E to do this for you. Yeah, to create image, yeah, to generate the image, edit the image, and if you want variations of the image, you could also get that. Okay. You also get this project. Let's see how far we can go with the projects. Explore Azure OpenAI Service. This demo, you see Azure OpenAI's capabilities in action. And look at responsible generative AI too. Let me go back to this. Okay. The Azure OpenAI code generation capabilities, GitHub Copilot. OpenAI partnered with GitHub to create GitHub Copilot, which they call an AI pair programmer. So GitHub Copilot integrates the power of OpenAI codecs into a plugin for developer environments like Visual Studio Code. So once the plugin is installed and enabled, you can start writing your code. And GitHub Copilot starts automatically suggesting the remainder of the function based on code comments or the function name. So that's what the GitHub Copilot will do for you. And GitHub Copilot offers multiple suggestions for code completion, which you can tab through using keyboard shortcuts. When giving informative code comments, it can even suggest a function name along with the complete function code. That's the GitHub pilots. Okay, and we looked at the image generation capabilities. Yeah. For example, given the prompt, an elephant standing with a burger on the top, style digital art, as shown in the diagram I showed you earlier. So the model generates digital art images depicting exactly what is asked for. And you saw the various the variations too. So access to Azure OpenAI services by application. You can demo the lab, the link above. Do you know about this? Okay, I'm sure, let's see how we go anyway with your projects. Let's see how far we can go. Okay, so let's look at generative, responsible generative AI. Responsible generative AI. Plan a responsible generative AI solution. A 4-stage process to develop and implement a plan for responsible AI. First, identify potential harms that are relevant to your planned solution. Identify first, then measure the presence of these harms in the outputs generated by the solution. First, remember it's to identify potential harms that are relevant to the planned solution and measure the presence of these harms, the outputs generated by the solution. And the third stage is to mitigate the harms at multiple layers in your solution to minimize the presence and impact. To mitigate the harms at multiple layers in your solution to minimize the presence and impact. And the fourth stage is operate the solution responsibly by defining and following a deployment and operational readiness plan. So these are the 4-stage process to develop and implement a plan for responsible AI. Okay. Identify, measure, mitigate, and operate. Let's see if okay, responsible AI, responsible generative AI. Okay, the learning objective explores a set of guidelines for responsible generative AI that has been defined by experts, Microsoft. So the guidelines for responsible generative AI build on Microsoft's responsible AI standard to account for specific considerations related to generative AI. So the plan, like we saw earlier, plan a responsible generative AI solution. Microsoft guidance for responsible generative AI is designed to be practical and actionable. It defines a 4-stage process to develop and implement a plan for responsible AI when using generative models. The 4 stages in the process are, like I mentioned earlier. to identify potential harms that are relevant to your planned solution. It is to measure the presence of these harms and the outputs generated by your solution. Third one is to mitigate the harms at multiple layers in your solution to minimize their presence and impact, and ensure transparent communication about potential risks to users. And the fourth stage is to operate the solution responsibly by defining and following a deployment operational readiness plan. So these stages correspond closely to the functions in the NIST AI risk management framework. The remainder of this learning objective discusses each of these stages in detail, providing suggestions for actions you can take to implement a successful and responsible generative AI solution. Okay. So let me go back to this. So here we have another project here. Here we're looking at how to explore content filters in Azure OpenAI. So in this demo, we'll see Azure OpenAI's content filters in action. We'll get to this. Okay. So this is knowledge check now. This has already given you. You shouldn't come up with the answer. It's not it's the answers are already to me, which I didn't want that before. But anyway, I'm sure you've all seen the answers. I didn't want you to see the answers. But that's okay, since you already see the answers. Okay, I'd like you to take turns to read. Okay, so now who wants to go first? Can you take turns to read? You can unmute and speak. First one, who wants to go first? What's going on? What's happening to everyone? Are we all falling asleep? Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, who wants to go first? Okay, go on. You can unmute and speak.
Which of the following would you classify as generative AI? I think the answer is writing a new report.
Does anybody agree with him? Which of the following would you classify as generative AI? Is it transcribing speech into text, writing a new report, and extracting information from the text? Who disagrees with it? Who disagrees? Hello.
We can hear you.
Somebody. Okay, Mbanefo, you have your hands up. You have a question. Mbanefo Chidubem.
I don't, ma. I'm trying to lower it.
Oh, you are trying to lower it. I hope the hand won't pain you if you are not able to lower it. Okay. All right. So, do we all agree with him? Which of the following would you classify as generative AI? And he says writing a new report. Yeah? Okay, who wants to take the second one? Okay, you agree. I can see thumbs up. Okay, the second one. Who wants to take the next one? You people have seen the answer before now, so how come you? I thought people would be rushing to answer these questions because the answers were displayed before. Who wants to take the next one?
How can you demonstrate the generative AI capabilities of Azure OpenAI without writing code? OpenAI Studio. A.
Who agrees with him? Who disagrees? Nobody agrees with him. Nobody disagrees with him. Nobody's agreeing with him. Then how can you demonstrate the generative AI capabilities of Azure OpenAI without writing code? Who agrees with him? Okay, Emmanuel, only Emmanuel agrees with him. Okay. Okay, two people now. Yeah. And then Banefo, you agree with him? Or your hand's still up? Okay, the third
I
one. Who
agree
wants to
with
take
you.
the third? Sorry? Yeah, somebody was speaking.
I said I agree with you.
Okay, Mbanefo, is that you? Okay. So who wants to take the third one? Yeah, you can unmute her. Yeah. Who wants to take the third one? People have already seen all these answers. And these are the questions you come across in your exam. Yeah. So we should all be familiar with this. Yeah. That's why I take my time to go through this. Nobody wants to take this. Can we have somebody that hasn't spoken in this class? We have Toya, we have at least, we still have 10 people in this class. Yeah, Toya, Toluwa Lashe, Ray Ofe, Toluwa Jumiloju, Banefo, Joseph, Faith. Who read the last one? Daniela. I know I've been hearing Emmanuel's voice, but I need to hear other people's voices. Who hasn't spoken this class? Can you take the last one? Atoluwa Lashe, I thought you were muted to speak. What's going on now? Nobody wants to take it.
You are designing an application using Azure OpenAI Services. What steps should you take to ensure responsible use of AI in your application? C. Create a plan that includes the following steps: plan, measure, mitigate, and operate.
That's the third option, yeah? What did you pick?
Yeah, the third option, ma'am.
Does anybody agree with him? Nobody agrees. Does anybody disagree? And what's going on today? People are not responding. We just went through this now.
Always.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
You may not yet have traveled to an
Yeah. That's what we just went through. So you're designing an application using Azure OpenAI Services. What steps should you take to ensure responsible use of AI in the application? And you create a plan that includes the following steps: plan, measure, mitigate, and operate. Just went through that. Yeah. Okay. So, a summary of what we've gone through. In Module 5, we looked at the fundamentals of generative AI to understand generative AI's place in the development of artificial intelligence. Understand large language models and their role in intelligent application. Describe how Azure OpenAI supports intelligent application creation. Describe examples of co-pilots and good prompts. Also looked at fundamentals of Azure OpenAI Service. To describe Azure OpenAI workloads, assess the Azure OpenAI Service. To understand generative AI models, to understand Azure OpenAI language code and image capabilities. Also went through how to explore responsible generative AI. To understand the 4 stages for a responsible generative AI solution. Okay, so this is the summary of what we've done in Module 5. Okay, so any questions with what we've done so far? Question time, because we're done with number 5. Questions? And do you have issues with your any issue with your projects? So we can deal with them now while we're still here.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, can I see those that have gotten to project 7? Please put up your hands if you've gotten to project 7. Only one person, Tolu Alashe. Okay. So only one person is on project 7 now. We have other projects coming up, so okay, let's see those that are on project 8. Sorry, project 6. Tolu Alashe, you can leave your hands up because you've done, that means if you're on project 7, if you've done project 7, that means you've done 6. Okay, let's see those that have done project 6. Nobody else has gotten up to project 6. Only Tolu Alashe. Okay, 2 people now. Daniela, you're on project 6. Okay. How about project 5? What are those on project 5? Project 5. Okay, Ray, you're on project 5. Okay. How about project 4? It's good to have hands-on. It's good to have hands-on. After this, it's good to have hands-on because the good thing about this project is it's hands-on. You're working on your own. The instructions are there, steps are there, so to guide you. Yeah. So how about those on project 4? Can you put up your hands? Those on project 4. And since you're on holidays now, this is the best time for you to do this project. Because once you get back to school, you'll be busy with your classwork and internet too. Yeah, but that's why I said if you're having an issue with any of the project, please let's discuss it here. Yeah. In class now, so that you can share your screen and help you out with it. Okay. If you don't have any questions or any issues with your projects you want us to discuss, please continue with your project. See that you complete your projects. Yeah. Complete your projects. All right. So what we'll do is, since you're going back to school this weekend, we'll get back and that means we'll check and see. We've finished. Okay, before you go, since you have some more time, let me see. Okay, we finished the modules. Yeah, can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, since we finished the modules, what you need to do is your projects. Yeah. And while you're working on that, let me say, remember the code for this is AI 900. And if you can still see my screen, yeah? Yeah? Can you still see my screen? Can you also hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I already showed you how to go to your learning path. Yeah? Once you go to Google and type AI 900, you get to your learning path. So this is your learning path. Yeah? So please make sure you read through your learning path. You can go through it. Then, because we finished the modules now, yeah, we've gone through the modules. So while you're doing your projects, yeah, I would, okay, for those that don't have Azure, you set up your Azure, you would have used the sandbox, yeah. At the end, or you can even start this on your own to practice. Can you see the practice exam? Yeah. Did you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, what I'll do is let me, because we have some more time, let me just see if I can start going through that. Okay, yeah, the learning path I was showing you here. go through it, and you can see that the exam will be 45 minutes. Yeah. So also, if you look at the skills measured here, which is what we've done, the modules we've covered. Yeah. And on your own, you could start taking the practice exams. Yeah. So let's since we have some more time, let's see what we can do with us. I'll go through it with you if we have another some 15 minutes. Yeah. You can still see my screen, yeah? Can you still see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay, so let's go through this. This is a practice assessment. Yeah. So these are questions that will come out in your exams. Yeah. So I want us to take turns. How many are we in class now? Are we up to 10? Let's quickly do this. Yeah. And, okay, we're 10 in class. So let's see if we can cover up to 10 questions before. Okay, so can somebody, let's be fast so that we can, I would have been calling out your names, but I'm not on that screen because I'm sharing my screen. So who wants to take this? The first person can take this. Quickly unmute and take this, please. Let's move fast. These are sample exams, like questions that you come out in exams. So yeah, go on.
Which three resources can be used to generate questions and answers for a knowledge base? An existing FAQ document, manually and data.
So which one did you go for?
An existing FAQ document, ma'am.
An existing FAQ documents. Yeah. So it's three sources that they use to generate questions. So which other one?
Manually enter data.
Manually enter data. Then what?
A web page.
A web page. Do you all agree with him?
Yes.
Okay. You see, the good thing about this, you can check your answer. Okay. So this is all correct. Yeah. And read the explanations. Yeah, go on.
Page or an existing document, such as a text file containing question and answer pairs, can be used to generate a knowledge base. You can also manually enter the knowledge base question and answer pairs. You cannot.
Yes, so you can also manually enter the knowledge base question and answer pairs. You cannot directly use an image or an audio file to import the knowledge base. So that's why these two are there. Yeah, that's very good. Okay, next one. Who wants, the next person should take this? Yeah, go on. Somebody, you have your hands up. Toluwa Lashe. Okay, you still have your hands up. You have a question? Okay, who wants to take the second one? Let's move faster so that, yeah? Let's do 10 questions before we go. The next person should take this. Let's move fast now because it doesn't matter even if you're wrong. At least you learn the correct thing. Hello. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Hello, can you all hear me? And nobody's answering. You can't see my screen. Okay, Daniela, you can see it now. Can somebody unmute and answer and speak? What's going on? Hello, can anyone hear me? Daniela, Emmanuel, Faith, Marvelous, Mbanefo, Luajomiloju, Real Fair, Ray. Nobody can hear me. Can you all hear
Can
me?
hear you, ma.
What's going on
Hear
now?
you,
Wait.
ma'am.
I was waiting for somebody else to read. Who read the first one? Who read the first question? Are you all tired or what?
At which layer can you apply content filters to suppress prompts and responses for a responsible generative AI solution?
What would you go for?
A. Meta prompt and grounding.
Does anybody agree with him? Does anybody disagree? And nobody is responding.
I agree with him. I agree
You
with
agree
him.
with him? Okay. This is wrong. Meta prompt and grounding. Wrong. Correct answer is safety systems. Yeah, the safety system. Okay, can you read the explanation so you know?
The safety system layer includes platform level configurations and capabilities that help mitigate harm. For example, the Azure OpenAI Service includes support for content filters that apply criteria to suppress prompts and responses based on the classification of content into four severity levels: safe, low, medium, and high, for four categories of potential harm: hate, sexual violence, and self-harm.
Okay. So at least you know now that it's safety system. At which layer can you apply content filters to suppress prompts and responses for a responsible generative AI solution? The correct answer is systems, safety systems. They explain why it's okay. Like that now. Okay, the next one. Who wants to take the next one? Let's move faster. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. You're still learning. Yeah. Go on. Who wants to take this?
Answer threads can use to identify constraints and style for the responses of a generative AI model. Data grounding. The first
Data.
option.
What did you go for?
Data grounding, ma'am.
Data grounding. Does anybody agree with him? Does anybody disagree? Check your answer. Can you see that? To identify constraints and styles for the responses of a generative AI model. Can you read the explanation?
This system messages should be used to set the context for the model by describing expectations based on system messages. The model knows how to respond to prompts The other techniques are also using generative AI models, but for other use cases.
Okay. Yeah. So the other techniques are also used in generative AI models for other use cases. System messages. Okay, who wants to take the next one? It doesn't matter if you're wrong, you're learning too. Yeah, you're learning. This is learning. If the first time you do these questions, you might, your score might not be good, but subsequent times get better. So let's move faster. Let's see what we can do in 5 minutes. Who wants to take the next one? Just
As
on
per
meeting.
the
Go on.
yeah, as per the NIST AI risk management framework, what is the first stage to consider when developing a responsible generative AI solution? I think the answer would be identify potential harms.
Yeah, does anybody agree?
I agree.
Okay. Does anybody disagree? See, we just finished this one. Say, what is the first stage to consider when developing a responsible generative AI? That's what we just did. Yeah, that's identify potential harms. Okay, can you read the explanation?
Identifying potential harms is the first stage when planning a responsible generative AI solution.
Correct. Okay. Who wants to take the next one? Let's go on now. Yeah. Anybody can just unmute, especially if you have not spoken before. Yeah. Don't worry, even if you're wrong, you're learning. This is your first time up here. What's going on now? We still have.
Which
Go
two
on.
capabilities are examples of a GPT model? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. So I think I'll go for create natural language and understand natural language.
It says which two capabilities are examples of GPT model? Okay, you said create natural
Create
language
natural
and what?
and understand natural language.
Okay, who agrees with him? Nobody. Who disagrees? Nobody. It's correct. It says which two capabilities are examples of a GPT model? Create natural language. Can you read the explanation?
Okay, it says Azure OpenAI natural language models can take in natural language and generate responses. GPT models are excellent at both understanding and creating natural language.
Okay. Who wants to take this one? Who wants to take this? Let's move faster now so we can please answer more questions. It doesn't matter if your answer is wrong, you're learning. Nobody wants to take this.
Which three capabilities are examples of image generation features for generative AI model? Each correct answer represents a complete solution. Animation of static images, creating variations of an image, extracting RGB values from an image.
Said animation of static images. Which other one?
A, B, and D.
A, B, and D. D. Creating variations here. Yeah, it says which three capabilities are examples of image generation features for a generative AI model? It said animation of static images, creating variations of an image, and extracting RGB. Does anybody agree with him? Huh? Does anybody agree with him? Does anybody disagree? Nobody agrees, nobody disagrees. Check answer. Okay. Creating variations of an image. We saw that, remember. It says which three capabilities are examples of image generation features for a generative AI model? Creating variations of an image, which is correct by bits. Yeah. Editing an image. Remember, we looked at that. Editing, you can edit the image. Yeah. Editing an image. Yeah. New image creation. I mean, yes, that's like variations to remember. Yeah. The animation of static images. No, we didn't discuss that. So the correct answer is creating variations of an image. Yeah, and editing an image and new image creation. Create an image creation, editing an image and variations, creating variations. Can you read the explanation?
Image generation models can take a prompt, a base image, or both, and create something new. These generative AI models can create both realistic and artistic images, change the layout or style of an image, and create variations of provided image.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to take the next one? Who wants to take the next one?
You plan to develop an image processing solution that will use DAL-E as a generative AI model. Which capability is not supported by the DAL-E model? The first one, image description.
Does anybody agree with him? Hmm?
Yes,
Anybody disagrees? Okay, that's correct. Remember, DAL-E, I said this for image generation, image editing, and image creation. Description is where you have text. Yeah, that's not what DAL-E does. Okay, can you read the explanation? Yeah, who read the last one? You can read it again. Yeah? Who read the last one? Just read what you have there. The person that read the last question. Okay, can somebody else take it? I don't know why. All I want you to do is read. Image description is not a capability included in the E model. Therefore, it's not a use case that can be implemented by using DALL-E, while the other two capabilities are offered by DALL-E in Azure OpenAI. All right, it looks like you're all tired now. Yeah, I'm going to stop. Recording. Okay. and it's